loses Fox Sports RSNs, Netflix drops their free trial, and Quibi shuts down. This and so much more coming up on the Streaming Insider. What's up, streamers? It's Jason from The Streamable, and every week we bring you behind the scenes of the biggest news in streaming. There's so much news this week that we gotta get to, but before we get going, make sure you hit that subscribe button because October is full of streaming reviews, from the new Fire Stick to the Google Chromecast, as well as the latest Roku Ultra and Stream Bar. We got it all, so you're gonna wanna subscribe. But this week, there is streaming news galore, and why don't we start with one of the biggest flops to come to streaming. Quibi, which has raised $1.75 billion, is shutting down after just 6 months. The news comes just days after they released apps on TV devices, Apple TV, Android TV, and Fire TV, which went completely against the original premise, which was to use streaming on mobile on the go. When the company launched in April, it wasn't that big of a success. Over the life of the product, they apparently only signed up 500,000 subscribers. And there were a lot of reasons why Quibi failed, from the fact that the pricing was just off. It started at $5 with ads or $8 without, which compared to services like HBO Max or Peacock or Netflix just was way too expensive. They really needed a free tier. Their content was just not that prestige. They didn't have a single piece of content that was a huge hit, so there was no reason to directly go sign up for the service. But ultimately, what failed Quibi is the idea. When they originally thought of it, the idea was to take content that was super long form and cut it down into chapters for those periods of downtime. And obviously those downtime moments, whether you're on the bus or waiting in line for coffee, disappeared in the world of COVID. It also got replaced with other apps like TikTok and YouTube, where you just didn't really care how good the content was. You just wanted a distraction for that short period of time. So while a lot of pundits very early on predicted the demise of Quibi before it even started, I don't think anyone expected it to fail this quickly. But I will say you have to give them credit. They were one of the few services that tried something different. When you think of what HBO Max or Peacock or Apple TV Plus did, they're largely Netflix with original series in the same way that they've done it on any other platform. But Quibi did try something original, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So from one of the biggest flops to one of the biggest successes, Netflix reported this week that they've now hit over 195 million subscribers. While it was a little bit slower than last quarter, which was a blowout of epic proportions, the company says it's mostly because they signed up so many subscribers earlier in the year that it moved them ahead of where they would be. In fact, in the first 3 quarters this year, they signed up more subscribers than they did all of last year. And they said if the quarter was just 2 days longer, they would have exceeded analyst projections for subscribers. Netflix keeps on winning, but that might mean your price is going up. On their earnings call, Netflix CEO Greg Peters was asked about their latest price hike in Canada. And while they haven't raised prices this year in the US, from what he's saying, it sounds like a price hike might be coming in 2021. Peter said that he wants the service to always be a great value, but as they add more content and they increase the value of the service, they're gonna go back to customers and ask them to pay a little bit more. And in 2021, Netflix expects to have more originals than ever before. So don't be surprised if they come back to you and say, hey, can I have a couple more dollars a month from your pocket? It's been hard to tell just how well HBO Max has done since launch. For the first time, HBO is actually growing. They have 38 million subscribers, which is more than about the 35 million that they had going into the year. They added about 1.7 million subscribers across HBO and HBO Max, but only about 8.4 million of the 28 million who are eligible for HBO Max have ever actually tried it. And part of that reason is distribution. HBO Max is still not available across 80 million active Roku and Fire TV devices, and it's become a real big issue for them. It's hard to grow when you're missing two of the biggest parts of the streaming ecosystem. So while it's good for AT&T that HBO is starting to grow, they really can't compete on the streaming game until they get Roku and Fire TV. AT&T also announced that AT&T TV Now lost an additional 37,000 subscribers this quarter, just continuing losses for the streaming service. In fact, AT&T TV Now has lost 63% of their customers since they peaked 2 years ago at about 1.8 million subscribers. And part of that is they just kept on raising the price and it became more expensive sooner than anywhere else. But there's been a big shift this week in what's happening in the live TV streaming landscape. Hulu Live TV announced that starting today, Fox Sports RSNs, including Yes Network and Marquee Sports Network, will no longer be available on their streaming service. This has been a major blow to Sinclair, who bought the channels last year, who have seen streamers left and right drop them. It started with Sling TV last year, Fubo TV earlier this year, and then YouTube TV just a few weeks ago. Across those four services, Sinclair has lost 9 million subscribers to Fox Sports RSNs across the streaming landscape. But what this means for AT&T TV Now is they are now the only live TV streaming service with Fox Sports RSNs and Yes Network, giving them a leg up when it starts next season acquiring new customers. The problem is, it is so expensive that the question becomes, should you just subscribe to cable? In order to get Fox Sports RSNs on AT&T TV Now, it will cost you $80 a month with their Max plan. That's $25 more than the $55 you were paying on Hulu. For fans that want their teams on Fox Sports RSNs, they're probably going to turn to illegal sources before going to AT&T TV Now. This could mean everything from signing up for a VPN and using an out-of-market package like MLB TV or NHL TV, or just using an illegal stream off Reddit. This becomes a big problem for both live TV streaming services, where sports has been a major driver. In fact, Hulu's slogan is, "Hulu has live sports." But do they? Well, they do have major sports channels like ESPN, NBC, SN, and Fox Sports 1, but they have much less on the regional side. But even bigger than live TV streaming services and the disappointment this is for customers, Sinclair is in for a world of hurt. They're gonna have to figure out a direct-to-consumer strategy, either going with a company like Amazon, who already owns part of Yes Network, with them, or doing it themselves through their streaming service like Stir, or launching a whole different one. But without being able to access cord cutters, Sinclair is going to be missing out on millions of people who may want to watch local sport but can't access it. And that's it for this week's edition of the Streaming Insider. Let us know in the comments below, what are you going to do now that Hulu has dropped Fox Sports RSNs? Are you going to go an illegal route or sign up for AT&T TV Now? And if you like this episode, make sure you give us a thumbs up. And if you want the latest in streaming tips, make sure you hit subscribe so you get them as they come out. As always, visit us all week long at thestreamable.com for the latest in streaming news and reviews. And for The Streamable and The Streaming Insider, I'm Jason. Happy streaming.